It's 5:30 in the morning. I have a box of severed arms, and we're going to Comic-Con. I'm here. We're here. We're finally here. I'm with Tim Drake, the producer. Bundy Manor. It's crazy. Yay! After recording. Oh. This is the official Walter reaction.
Step in here, Walter. Step in a little more.
The Bundy Manor's poster. Here we go.
Hey, let's do this. Yeah!
That's you.
I officially approve. That's awesome.
And go.
Oh, that's dope.
That is scary. For real. That is creepy AF. Wow. That's so cool.
And there you are.
Oh my. Looks so good. That's scary. Oh man, that is so cool. Oh, look at Walter. Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, and then you
I
read
love
that, read that, read
Oh, you choose to be here. He decides if he'll leave. Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This is inside the horror film Bundy Manor. We're so excited to be able to share some behind-the-scenes footage with you guys, the trailer for the film, and introduce you to this cast. So we'll go ahead and show you some of the behind-the-scene footage now.
This is gonna sound crazy, but when I got blood poured in my mouth,
Jesus!
it tasted like blood. Okay, real blood. Like I swear to you, it was real.
She even had an interview with you. She talked about all the nice things that you do for the homeless, and I just really loved the idea of horror being used for good.
Hello? Oh yeah, Mom. Yeah, it's going alright, but I could really use a grilled cheese.
Why did it have to be Arizona though? Like, no one says, oh my god, we're going to Arizona.
All right, fine. All right. Yana, I am going to give you a very high honor.
I'm Julie Cordell Siemens. I'm from Eagle Mountain, Utah. I play Lissa. Lissa is the mom. She's one of the characters that kind of goes along with the story to find out what's going on. And in the end, she does some kicking butt.
Yeah, I'm Walter Meekum. I am currently playing the role of Rob Jorgensen. He's the good guy of the movie, or the funnest role at least. I run a extreme haunted house, and occasionally not everyone comes back from it.
Paul Anthony Saunier Jr., and I am one of the lead actors playing Eric Penrod in this amazing film, Bundy Manor. My character is the husband of Lissa, father of Ash and Lila. I'm actually a lifestyle journalist, and I end up seeing this guy across the street that, in my head, he's playing dress up with teenagers at this haunt, not a haunted house. And I think it's weird that this old man's doing this. And so I start to, put my journalist hat on and investigate. And no one believes me because he's this outstanding citizen who gives clothes, to homeless people and fixes furnaces and stuff. And I end up discovering what's really going on, and it gets really intense with my family. Tries to break them apart, manipulate them from me, but I try to keep stuff together and you know, solve the case in a sense.
My name is Tim Drake. I'm one of the producers of the film. As we get things started off, I'll first invite up our director, Alexander Watson. He both wrote and directed this film. So come on up, Watson. You're going to hear us refer to him as Watson over and over and over again because his first name's just arbitrary to us. So he is just Watson to us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
So Watson and I go way back. We got to know each other in Utah in the film community there when I would regularly lose film festivals to him. So that's how all of this kind of came together with he and I working together on this. So to start off, I mean, tell us, you wrote all of this during quarantine.
Yes, correct.
So, but this had kind of been bouncing around in your head for quite some time. So tell me kind of the process of how you got to, writing Bundy Manor.
Yeah, so I actually got the idea probably about a year or two before quarantine and COVID madness happened. And what happened is that I was watching this documentary and it just was about haunted houses. And I'm the kind of person who celebrates Halloween in September, so I was watching documentaries and all this stuff. And what finally caught my attention and started to get the idea going through my head was that there were these people making haunted houses in their backyards, but there were some people who were doing extreme haunted houses in their backyards. And they're just, I kind of seen like a bunch of them and like how far they go and like some don't have safe words, some have like military, like actual torture training, and they were using it on their victims. And it just started like rolling in my head about like, well, small town. I come from a small town. I've always wanted to film there. And it would not go away for, another year or so. And I just wrote out an outline, but I didn't officially write it into a script until quarantine happened, and then because there was nothing else to do. So, but it's really funny because I don't know if we would be here this early right now because it really made me stop and write the script, and made me really think about my life choices of writing a movie about torture.
And as far as these extreme haunted houses go, do all of you guys know what an extreme haunted house is, where they just they sign a waiver and you can do whatever you want to them? Mm-hmm. And that's really it. You can do whatever. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite know how extreme until we were kind of into pre-production, and Watson sends me a video. And he's just like, this is what we're looking at for like the aesthetic. And I've been in therapy for 3 months now. But, it was intense.
Yeah.
And, it definitely.
And like one thing,
that really spawned.
And one thing that was really intriguing was like, some people watch this footage and are legit like excited because they're like, ooh, I want to be just as scared. But I think there's an element of not quite understanding. Like, we can watch disasters happen or war movies, but until we're there, it's a whole other brain. Like, our brains can't really comprehend what we're watching until we're there. And there's a lot of people who've gone through these extreme haunted houses that come back traumatized and have, like, some PTSD of it because of it. And so, yeah.
Now, one of the things I found interesting was when you started writing this, you sent it out to friends within the industry to get feedback, to get notes, to be able to make it the best script you could. And at that same time, you had just started a new relationship. You were just barely dating somebody. How long did you wait before you let her read the script and were like, hey, these are my problems?
So we actually weren't quite official yet. I think I had it in my mind that I wanted to see how crazy I was first. But yeah, she was a part of the, shout out to my love, Chris. She's right here. Yes, let's give it up for Chris, please. But yeah, we started a new relationship. We weren't even quite official at all yet, but I was just like, hey, do you want to read this, this little extreme haunted movie that I'm making? And she said yes. And funny enough, Walter was also there. Walter, there you go. We'll see him in a second. But yeah, it's always nerve-wracking when you're writing horror. Like, I love horror, but then anytime someone's like, what's your movie about? And then I'm like, man, you're going to think I'm just insane or like just have terrible things in my brain. But yeah.
Now, as far as us getting into the production of this, you had the script done. You reached out to me to say, hey, let's build a team and fund this movie, which we did through Kickstarter. So, I mean, we had over 400 backers.
Yeah, it was close to 500.
Yeah, close
actually.
to 500. 500 people that stepped up and threw their money at us. And Sadiq, who you will meet shortly here, because of that, he's getting a Bundy Manor tattoo on his butt.
That's right.
That was one of the tiers that if we reached a certain goal, that he would end up having to tattoo a Bundy Manor logo on his butt. One of our associate producers who also helped us, literally right here, Clyde Ratliff, who this dude hustled like no other. So, I mean, in Ogden, Utah, was it you? You're in Ogden, Utah? Not a place you would expect is going to fund a horror film.
Yeah.
Or
Utah in general.
Yeah, Utah in general. Can't trust us. There were some issues there.
Yeah.
But Clyde really pushed to be able to get that money for us and had so many people coming out of the woodwork to make sure that we were able to make this happen. And it kind of blew our minds when we funded a week early.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, that's because of Sadiq and his butt.
Yeah, that was because of Sadiq's butt. So not something I thought I'd be saying.
And we raised $60K to make this little movie.
62K.
So yeah, $62K. And those watching, because we're filming for all of our backers too, thank you for donating.
Yeah, thank you so much. It wouldn't have happened without you.
Yeah.
So without further ado,
are we gonna do it?
Should we show the trailer?
Hold on, let's get pumped. Come on. Woo! Let's go. Let's see it.
Welcome to our little town. What brings you out this way?
My mom passed, so we're just out here working, getting our property and stuff taken care of.
Have you gotten used to the streets yet?
It looks fun over there.
It's like someone's watching inside for Halloween.
My friend's coming, Rob. This is my wife, Leah.
People just walk through like a normal haunted house.
Well, we used to do it every Halloween in my backyard. Now we have to do it 3-4 times a week just to keep up. You know, you can see we got pretty famous. I really just have to make sure that people doing it know what they're getting themselves into.
What are they getting into?
That's probably something that Rob shouldn't explain while at the dinner.
Woo, did you get much sleep last night?
Come in, Dad.
You know what? I'm gonna go talk to Rob about the screaming. Did we keep you up last night? People come here expecting us to scare them. Their screams are like applause to me. You chose to be here. So it's all about that moment. Besides your life, he's torturing you. You are mine. He's not dressing up in sheets and running around with chainsaws.
Racist, what? Because they like horror movies? Like me?
Your parents ever decide whether you can come and help out or not?
I've watched all your videos.
I guess I'm kind of starstruck.
Just keep your nose into your own business. Back in line.
This is Bundy Manor.
All right, so you guys want to meet this cast now?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so starting off, playing Lissa Penrod, we have Julie Cordell Siemens. So playing Eric Penrod, Paul Anthony Saunier Jr. Playing Lila Penrod, Alara Phoenix Williams. Playing Ash Penrod, Claire Pace. Playing Mayana, Emily Perry.
Yay!
Playing Rob Jorgensen, Walter Meekum. Playing Leah Jorgensen, Pam Beschetti. Did I butcher it, Pam? And then the pizza man himself.
Oh, yeah.
The man who needs no introduction.
Come on now.
But we're still giving him one because you guys don't know who he is. Sadiq McGinn. And you guys are just going to have to share mics, so get cozy. So starting off here, we had, as we went into this, we had this entire film cast. And because filmmaking cannot be easy, there were hiccups as we got closer and closer to production. About a week and a half out, we had 2 people drop out of the film, and we were in kind of panic mode. And the 2 people that dropped out ended up being replaced by Claire and Pam. And when we ended up getting them cast, we cast them the day of the first cast read-through.
Yeah.
And so they were meeting all of us for the first time in front of everybody over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know first from Claire and Pam how that experience was for you guys, because you guys had not even read the full script.
No.
You guys knew what your sides were. I mean, actually only Claire knew really what her sides were, because she was the only one who auditioned between the 2 of them, because we already knew Pam's reel. And so they had no idea what they were getting into. So I'm intrigued to know what both of your first impressions were going into that first table read.
Thank you, Walter. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was a product of someone else deciding that they couldn't make it to be a part of this film, and honestly, I am so grateful for that person. I have no idea who they are, but honestly, you missed out. So this was such a fun production, and it was very spur of the moment. I think I got the email, it was a day and a half after I sent in an audition tape, and they were like, "Okay, great, we're meeting tonight." I was like, I mean, this is my first feature film, so I had no idea if that's how it normally went, so I just went along with it, but it ended up being great. I remember reading my lines, 4, 5, 6 times a day, but we got it.
I knew what I was getting into a little bit more. Alex had advertised on a Utah filmmaker site online. He's a great, as you can see, a great editor, and he did my reel for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to pay him for it, he said, "Just donate to my film. I'm on Kickstarter." And I looked at the concept trailer that he had done, and I was blown away. And I was like giving him my footage of all my work and just kind of throwing it out there. If there's any part in your movie, if I fit anything, just keep me in mind. And now you know what I can do. You've put together this fabulous reel. You know my work. So if there's anything that I can fit, you have my number. And then literally that day of the first reading, he called me and he was like, actually, I do have a part for you. And that's how I got cast.
It was a wild, 48 hours where everybody was sending their auditions to Sadiq. And he was just having to quickly scramble and send all of them to Watson and I while we're trying to figure out who's going to fit. And luckily, he did remember Pam from the reel, because we were not getting anything that we wanted for that role.
Yeah.
And when Claire came through, it was just like, where was she in the first place?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was just so spot on.
I appreciate it.
And when we sat down in that first table read, I was so blown away that these guys had the script for 6 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
And you would have thought that they were just ready to go for months for this moment. And yeah, it was absolutely incredible to see what they were able to put together in really a week at that point. But an even shorter notice, our lead actress that had been cast dropped out 4 days before we started production. So the entire team from LA was already in Cedar City, Utah, where it was being shot. And we were just kind of up in the air. We had no idea what was happening. And within 24 hours, Watson reached out to Julie.
The first person I called. The first person I called was her. And I mean, you need to speak, of course, but I just need to state there is no amount. I am in so much in your debt that it is insane. And you were just amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that did need to be said, but I'm curious to know from how this all came together, Julie. You had a 100-page script thrown at you 4 days before going into production and saying, all right,
three.
Yeah, really 3. And saying, all right, here's the schedule, here's what we're shooting on these days, be ready on Monday.
Yeah.
And she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
So tell me how that came together.
Well, Alex called me, and my first initial reaction was like, yes, I want to be a part of it. I've worked with Alex before. I know how talented he is, so I definitely wanted to work with you. But the idea of like coming down to Cedar City and, getting the kids squared away and memorizing this huge thing in just a few days, I was terrified. I didn't know if I could do it. I knew everybody had like met each other and worked with each other, and I'd be coming in last minute. And so I didn't know if I could if I could do it. And everyone was just super supportive. All were awesome and made it really easy. And I had the best time, and I'm glad we made it work.
Yeah. We got to thank your family too for letting you come. So thank you.
Anything for the mama.
Yeah, the fact that your family was just like, all right, cool, go do it, Mom. Yeah, I mean, you killed it. I sat down with Watson a couple weeks ago because I wasn't on set with all of you guys. Because we were filming during COVID, it was like, the least amount of people on set, the better. And so I had no idea what these guys shot other than some stills and a few dailies. And so we sat down and watched a very rough first assembly of everything. And as I'm watching Julie the entire time, I just kept going, oh my God, she did this like with 3 days. Like, her performance just blew me away that she was able to do this in 3 days and had to just continually each day be learning like the next day's scenes. It was incredible. So I cannot wait for you guys to see the full thing, to see what Julie pulled off there. So now, Walter, as Watson mentioned, you were part of the original read-through.
Yeah.
And I do have to say with Walter and I go even further back than Watson. And the fact that when I came on board, Walter was already on. The fact that when I came on, he didn't go running. I made him one time climb a skyscraper in Utah for a film we were shooting that he had to do backwards. What was it, like 16 stories?
Yeah.
Filming somebody backwards, and he still talks to me to this day. So.
Carrying sound and camera equipment because they'd only let one person in. So I had to walk backwards ahead of a guy that was walking up, and it was...
So, but when you were part of his read-through, so there was nobody cast yet. Nothing was set in stone. How determined were you to be the one that was going to play Rob Jorgensen?
Well, it's kind of funny because he called me up one day, years ago, and he's like, hey, I've got this idea for a script. Do you want to play a serial killer? And I was like, of course. Who doesn't? And then I don't hear from him. He's like, okay, I got to write a script, and I'll let you know. And then, a year and a half, 2 years later, he writes a script, sends it to me. We do a reading. And I'm like, okay. And I said, anything you want different? He goes, no, you were perfect. That was it. I was like, okay, sweet. And then it comes casting time, and I'm like, hey, I've got this part. This is awesome. And he said, hey, I hope you'll audition. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. And so I send him an audition, and then I don't hear from him. And normally, if you don't hear from someone, they've just chose someone else and they don't want to tell you. So I literally waited for about a month, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to call him and say, hey, if you need help with the film, I'm happy to come help out. And literally the next morning, he called me up and offered it to me. So I was super excited. I tried to watch the videos of the Extreme Haunted House documentary that he watched, and I can't make it through them.
No,
they're terrible.
So now the next question here is for the ultimate scene stealer.
Oh yeah.
Alara.
Woo!
So when we first saw Alara doing these lines during that cast read through, I was just like, oh, she is going to steal every single second she is on screen, and she does.
Yeah, she does.
So now, Alara, do you like scary movies?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite scary movie?
Well, if it would probably be this one.
Oh, okay.
That's the right answer. You already paid her?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We'll talk.
So now, what was your favorite thing about playing Lila?
Well, meeting the cast, becoming friends with them.
Oh.
And I sort of kind of feel like they're actually sort of kind of like my family.
Oh.
Yeah, that was something I did notice, and it started making me jealous when I wasn't on set, because I did see you guys start to just become like a family, and the way too that was just like Alara and Paul and Julie and Claire. The first time I saw the shot that we saw in the trailer of them all getting out, I was like, wow, they are just a family. Like, it was so surreal to me to see that. So I love that. That's how Alara felt.
I loved singing the Adventure Time theme song with Alara because it's both our favorite shows. So.
So now, Claire, your character Ash is just obsessed with horror movies. I mean, it's her entire persona. Everything she wears is horror themed. So, did you relate to her in that sense? And if so, what are your go-to horror movies?
Absolutely not. I cried during Coraline. So I don't do scary. I'm definitely the complete opposite of Ash, which made it very fun to play. Giving sass to my stepdad when I would never, ever even attempt to give sass to my parents. So I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat, but it was extremely fun to play along with it, for sure.
Awesome. Now, this next question is for Paul. Now, with Paul, as I was preparing these, I quickly realized that I couldn't ask Paul any questions about the movie because his character is 100% plot-driven, and anything I ask him will spoil the movie. So we do have a safe word here. If anybody starts to say a spoiler, it's Tom Holland. So if you hear anybody yell out Tom Holland, that's our safe word.
Yep.
So to keep things safe with Paul, what's your favorite superhero, Paul, if you could play a superhero?
You're really going with that one.
I wasn't kidding.
No, it'd be Static Shock. So.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I
That's
love
a good
that.
one.
I love it.
That's it. That's all I got for you. So, Emily. So, Mayana is quite a complex character. She is just obsessed with Rob. She watches all of the Bundy Manor movies. She's really into this whole idea of extreme haunted houses and really kind of gets off on the idea of being tortured. And it's, how did you manage to prepare for this role knowing what you were kind of getting yourself into?
And remember Tom Holland.
Oh, you're psyching me out. All right. Well, first of all, just like Walter, I couldn't make it through some of those videos. They're so intense, and the cast knows my phobias, and I no longer wish to say them into a microphone should they ever be used against me. But like they know, and it's just like trying to read it through and take the parts that I could kind of stomach from those, and then think through like, why would someone like this? You know what I mean? Like, why? What can I use like to substitute for that? Because it's obviously like a very interesting thing for somebody to want to go sign their rights away and then be like stuck in a freezer for 4 hours or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, all of those things are wild. So what I ended up doing was making it sort of like a show of strength, kind of. Like, almost survival skills, because I've done a lot of like mapping and backpacking and like survival things for like some of my degrees. And so I made it about, it's not really about being tortured, it's about just being able to take whatever anybody could possibly think up. And so it became for like Mayana about strength, really, rather than, you know, she does love horror movies, and she does really like the whole idea of Bundy Manor as a concept she really loves. But then there's also that flip side of that where she wants to know what her limits are. And I think that's really cool. So that's kind of how I got on board with it. Because again, I could not watch these videos. And I have some things that I'm really scared of, like in my own life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, that's, and it definitely does show that it was coming from a place of, you know, trying to see what her power would be given those situations. So now, Sadiq.
Sadiq!
Yeah.
Now, you heard me introduce him as the Pizza Man. Sadiq has a small role in here as the Pizza Man.
I own the pizza business.
Yeah, he owns the pizza business, he delivers it and everything. But Sadiq was so much more than just the Pizza Man. Every film set needs a new position. You've heard of the best boy, Sadiq's the better boy. So he is the Sadiq. That needs to be a position, because he was also a PA, DIT,
art department.
Yeah, art department, which
we
also have Christian out here.
Oh yeah, Cristiano.
Christian was also part of the art department, which was another
Scripty.
fun thing.
Yeah.
Our art department fell through the week everybody was leaving to Los Angeles, and so all of us that were not
To Cedar.
art department,
Leaving to Cedar.
leaving to Cedar,
Yeah.
leaving from Los Angeles to Cedar.
Yes.
Yeah, that fell through. So Christian, who was supposed to just be scripty, Sadiq, who was just supposed to be a DIT,
Yeah.
Allison Brady, who was just supposed to be an AD, and me, who was just supposed to be a producer. We had to fly by the seat of our pants, and I was still in Los Angeles trying to communicate with them. Well, they're running to like Home Depots and any place they can.
Yeah.
And how easy was that to find anything in Cedar City, Utah?
Not very easy. There's like 4 stores you can go to.
Yeah.
And I pretty much lived at Home Depot and Walmart the whole time there.
Yeah.
Like that first week before we started filming, I think I was at Walmart the most. Like just pretty much pitch out of the tent outside.
Yeah. I also want to say he was my roommate during quarantine.
Yes.
And so besides me, he's probably the person who's read the script the most, because I have to hear it out loud. Even if I wrote it, I have to hear it out loud as I go back and forth. And he would be the person that I constantly would
We just
make
hung around
read
the
it.
living room and just kept doing
and
reads.
just read it. So I love you, Sadiq.
Love you too.
Yeah, and for Sadiq too, I mean, he was up one of the earliest because he was running to go get all the crafty stuff for the day, and then he was having to put up with long-winded texts from me explaining to him what the lunch order was while I was trying to figure that out for the day. And I mean, he was stretched so thin that I honestly don't know how he survived. And it's a terrible thing to say, but that's sadly what happens when you only have a $60,000 budget.
Yeah, I had a
But
5-minute
Sadiq
breakdown.
always just jumped up and was like, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, and I took 2 minutes to quickly get a breakdown out of my system and come right back.
Yeah.
No,
I had a breakdown at the
easy.
beginning. You had one at the middle. We balanced it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was fun sometimes having those phone calls of like, somebody might be having a panic attack.
Yeah.
Let's talk through it.
But then there was no other place I'd rather be. Like even during that, like making my first movie was, especially with these beautiful people, was amazing.
My favorite phone call from you during a panic attack was like at the very first. We were 2 days before shooting, and we had to flip a ton of the schedule around.
Yeah.
And he calls me, and Christian's actually out on a walk with him. And about halfway through, I just said, "Where the hell are you guys?" Because I could just hear all of these crickets, just as if the crickets were sitting on the desk in front of me chirping. And I was like, "Are you guys listening to sound effects?" And he's like, "No, that's just what it is."
Yeah.
And when I watched the assembled cut, I thought he put sound effects underneath some of the scenes
Yeah, the
at night.
crickets.
Nope, it's just the crickets.
Yeah.
They were picked up on the audio because they were that loud. It was kind of crazy. To Walter and Julie, you guys have a scene in here that, and again, careful with any spoilers, but it's a very intense scene between the two of you. It's a very emotional scene. And for one, I think we shot this on day 2.
Are you talking about the garage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like day 2.
Yeah, day 2. I think so.
And so Julie, again, has had the script for less than 5 days and has to be able to just bring it. How did the two of you manage to find the emotion in such a tough scene? And I hate that we have to be so vague about this, but in just kind of general terms, how did you guys find the emotion to have such a heart-to-heart conversation?
It was like 4 pages, right, of just dialogue.
Yeah, so Rob is sometimes less than kind, but he really wants something from these people, and he really goes over to kind of make a hey, let's get along, we can work through this screams all night long happening at my place situation, and is trying to like mend the fence of things. But yeah, so of course he's going to tell them whatever he thinks they will work with and want to hear, and start to. So yeah, I think it was more of a manipulative situation on his part, where he was just working off of anything he could find her doing to bring out her emotions and connect with her. What about you?
What about you, Julie?
I think Lissa at that point in the movie, I mean, emotionally, she's ready to feel things and maybe just let it out. And it was a perfect environment for that to kind of happen between the two characters. Personally, for me as an actress, when it comes to emotion and things like that, I just go into my own personal experiences and I have to bring them there. And so I think of something that would be something related like that, and I'm there in that moment. And then Walter's so amazing. Everyone here is so amazing. It just makes it so easy to work back and forth with, and you can just really tap into that emotion together.
Yeah, you guys definitely did. I mean, it felt like you guys were truly in that moment, and it definitely sucks you into it, and you're feeling what they're both going through. And even though you know that Rob may not be having the best intentions, you still feel for both of them. It's a very powerful scene. Now, as you saw in the trailer, people get tortured throughout this. So
a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And when it came to casting people to be torture victims, when we started sending out the casting call saying, and we kind of explained like, yeah, you got to be okay with some blood, and we'd get the casting back, and I would explain to them again, okay, these are the dates. Again, it's basically simulated torture that you're going to be doing, and then they wouldn't respond.
You can't really blame him. I mean,
yeah. Luckily, Walter had some people that he was dying to torture came through.
Yeah, we brought people who trusted us, and
reached out to a few friends of mine, because we had some that had lines and just was not happy with what we were getting. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to my buddy Greg Carver and his fiance Amanda, and Amanda's the one who at the very end says, "This is Bundy Manor," and they just came in and blew us away with what they were able to pull off. I mean, were you guys worried when you started shooting those of how people were going to react?
Well, so yeah, it was a funny thing. So there, when you picture a lot of things in your head, and then when you actually see them, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to go torture people right now. And you're kind of like, yeah, I can handle it. And I wish I could talk about one specific one, but it is spoilery. But let's just say when we were watching the torture scenes happen on the monitor, it's just like, there was just a moment of like, I can't show this to anybody. Like, this is so gross. But, now that you see it in context, it's more just like not seeing in context that you would be like, what? But I got to say, they brought it, especially Greg and Amanda. Yeah, like they brought it. The one you saw here, Walter, the teeth pulling for Anthony.
Yeah.
And Toothany is what I started calling him because he pulls his tooth. And But yeah, there was just moments of like I would walk away from the monitor and be like, look to the crew and be like, can we show this to people? Like, are people gonna want to watch this because this is gross? But
The weirdest part though was afterwards, I'm getting texts from all these people who I thought wouldn't be my friends afterwards. They were all like, that was the most amazing experience, thank you so much. And it's like, we got blood on you.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did all sorts of stuff. Like, and they were just so thrilled. And so it was very weird to have your friends thank you for torturing them.
If I can say, Anthony actually told me that was one of his bucket list items with me, is to be tortured by me on film.
Wow, okay.
He was
Interesting
like,
friendship.
He was like, I want to be in a film with you where you're the bad guy, because he's seen some of my bad guy roles, and he's like, I love the way you play bad guys. This is on my bucket list. So
Now, can we talk about your cameo moment, Watson?
Yeah, sure. If you want to.
Like any director that likes to have a cameo, Watson decided he wanted to be one of the torture victims and told them, go all out, do the worst things that you can possibly think of to him.
Yeah. I didn't want him to hold back because I was torturing them all. Either behind the scenes trying to make it perfect or, yeah, the cast.
Now, we won't go into complete full detail. Well, I guess
Sure.
we kind of can.
Uh-huh.
It was a mix of, it started off with him just saying to me, cream of mushroom soup. And that turned into our FX person mixing in baby food.
Yeah, but the baby food tasted fine. It was when she mixed it with the cream of mushroom soup, because I said, oh, this doesn't look chunky enough. And yeah, that was a big mistake. I should not have said that.
But while this is happening, he's got to hold this in his mouth.
Yes.
And in the first take, they start doing stuff to him, and
then I asked her to like tape up my nose so it looked crazy, but she taped over my nose. So I had this fake vomit in my mouth, and then it taped over. And they had my hands like this, so I was like, I can't breathe, but I couldn't say anything, and so almost died.
And you ended up swallowing some of it.
Yes, I did. I did end up
Which
swallowing
put us
it.
into the final day of filming.
Yeah, I had to
where
go.
He was in urgent care.
Yeah.
The entire
Yeah.
day, and the final day had to be shot without the director.
Yeah, that was not great.
And there's a lot. We won't say anything more of it because of what happens with it.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Don't you want to see it in the movie now?
I just want to speak up for a second. Before the scene, Watson came to me for the only time in the entire movie and says, there's something I want to do, and you can tell me no. And I was like, oh, this is serious.
And that thing, he pitched it to me, and I was like, oh, Walter will do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And sure enough.
Some people have some interesting tastes on the set, can you tell? I'm over here listening to them talk about this, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. I was a part of this, hold on. But sweet girl here, we were behind the scenes for one of them, and it was very real. The screams were very real, and it went a little too hard a couple of times, but she's so cute. She's just so cute. I like wanted. Oh,
Yeah.
anyways, okay, sorry.
No,
Distractions.
That was the scene that Paul did, that his acting was so amazing.
Yeah.
It
We can't
blew.
go into full details,
Right.
but yes.
We
Tom
were
Holland.
right.
We're
We were
towing that
there.
Tom Holland line right there.
Yeah.
So we've only got a few minutes left here, but we did reach out to some of our Kickstarter backers and asked them if they had some questions for the cast. And so we've got a few of those. The first one I'm going to go with is from Anne-Marie Pine. And she wanted to know, what has been one of your favorite bloopers? Will we get to see it? And were there any pranks pulled on set?
I mean, there is a few improvised lines. So maybe not necessarily bloopers. There were some great improvised lines. Like Paul, there's a line where he orders pizza. They kind of got into an argument, and so to smooth stuff over, he orders a pizza. And in the script, it was like, yeah, I got you a cheese pizza. But he put it to the next level, and she's like, oh, did you get a cheese pizza? And he says, do you remember?
Was it like all four kinds?
Yeah, four different types. Yeah, and then you had another great one where they're talking about just jokingly saying like, if we get divorced, like you get the kids, I get the PS5, and then but you came up with the you get the kids and I get the PS5, which was great. Yeah.
Going back to personal life again.
We're sitting right there. Love you.
I'm her only child from previous marriage, and yet she wants to get me away just that quick.
Teenagers are hard.
So one blooper that I noticed, it's actually in the trailer.
Oh.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No.
It's when Walter and Paul are talking in front of Bundy Manor.
Uh-huh.
And there's a cameo.
Oh yes, there is a cameo.
So you guys can watch for it now because we're going to play the trailer again in a second here. But Cedar City is next to a very heavily polygamous community.
Yes.
And which I guess Chris thought they were part of some play.
Yeah.
Lots of polygamists walking around.
Yeah.
But if you watch carefully, they're in the middle of this conversation and like a ghost just passing by. Just polygamous woman, just in the window, just like saunters past, but it looks like she just disappears.
Yeah.
So it might just be the ghost of the polygamous woman. We don't know, but you can see it in the shot, and that's my favorite little blooper I've seen.
That's a good one. That's a good
I just
one.
want to point out they made the best milkshakes.
That's true.
There was a store next door,
They
and everyone in the cast was like, "Oh my gosh, these milkshakes already or smoothies." Yeah.
Smoothies. There were
Oh my
smoothies.
gosh, so
You're
good.
welcome, Walter.
From one of our other backers, Manuel, and I believe he's in Australia.
Australia, yeah.
So he wanted to know if we plan on releasing the film into international markets and festivals.
Julie, go ahead. No, just kidding. Yeah, absolutely. That's always the dream, right? We definitely hope that we can get it internationally or stream it, but it's still very early stages as far as that goes. But we definitely want to put it into film festivals. I just love film festivals. I like to talk to people and meet new people and things. So it's a little early to kind of go into that, but that's definitely the dream. So.
Yeah, it will eventually be seen.
Oh, it'll definitely be seen.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
We'll make sure people can see it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and lastly, and we kind of touched on this. This is from Michael J. Astrakis. Wanted to know how long passed from the first idea starting writing the script and putting together the team to it really starting to feel real.
Casting was a big one for sure. That was when I would actually say that like when it actually started feeling real was when we were already in Cedar City and Roman in his big truck and trailer pulling up.
Roman
like
was our gaffer.
Yeah, and having that huge crew, like trailer with all the film equipment was the first time I've ever seen that. That was definitely a big moment for me, at least, of being like, oh, this is happening right now. Oh my gosh. And then everyone coming and meeting each other, that was super cool. And then the first thing we ever shot was with Claire and I keep wanting to say Eric, Paul. Yeah, that was probably it.